Hey, Karen Jenson here with Vaudevisuals and the director of the Big Apple Circus, Mark Lonergan, here to talk about this year's show. So tell us a little bit about the theme for this year.
Well, this year we have an audience member who ends up in the show. That's really the premise, it's the theme, it's what we're going for. And so this young man ends up wandering into the ring by mistake. He's got his cell phone attached to him, like most 21st century New Yorkers. And then the show just bombards him. And over the course of the show, he has to decide whether he wants to join the show or not. And then I'll leave it up to the audience to decide what happens. So you got to come and see it to find out the answer to that.
It sounds like it has quite a theatrical arc, and maybe a way that circuses don't always have. Sometimes it's kind of act, and this sounds a little more story-based. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, it was on purpose. Last year, our show, really the theme was the celebration of the 40th anniversary of Big Apple Circus. It was a celebration of the Big Apple Circus coming back, and that really took the whole show over. And this year we decided we wanted something more of a story. And you're right, it's a little more theatrical this year, which I love. So
yeah, that sounds like something I would like to see too. I haven't yet seen the show, but I look forward to it. So you're the director of the circus. And even me being a theater person, I kind of did a double take when I first heard that, because when you're an audience member, you see the ringmaster of the circus, and you sort of feel like the ringmaster is the one who's sort of pulling the strings, but of course not. Circuses also need directors. So tell me a little bit about what that's like to direct a circus.
It's a great question. I come from the theater originally. I have my own company, Parallel Exit, and we do shows which are sometimes with circus performers, but it wasn't until I directed the 39th edition of the Big Apple Circus, which was called the Grand Tour, that I'd ever tried to apply all of those skills and all that experience to a circus. And it's an unusual role because the performers come with their material already kind of done.
Sure.
They say this is an act they may have been doing for 5, 10, 20 years, depending on the act. And so there's little bits we can do here and there if we want to tweak something, if we want to change something. But for the most part, the acts kind of remain somewhat intact. And then it becomes my job to figure out what's the music going to be, what are the costumes going to look like, along with all the creative team, of course. And then how do we go from one act to the other? What's the flow of the show? And then in a show like this year, what is the story that we're trying to tell? So it's a bit of a different role in that way, and the ownership over the material really is in the hands of the performers, and it's then up to me really to just kind of sculpt the whole experience.
Yeah, that sounds like a very difficult puzzle to solve. It's a puzzle to solve, really. You're piecing it together, huh?
Yeah, very much so a puzzle. We talk about that a lot, actually. Mark Gindick and Adam Kukler, who you'll also be interviewing, we talk about it as a puzzle all the time. And it really is that. It's like someone has thrown 1,000 pieces onto the ground, and without giving you, the box and the picture to look at, they say, would you put all that together? And you kind of have to envision that picture in your head and then go, okay, if we put this piece here, I think we can put this piece here. The wall of the office where I work when we're doing rehearsals is just covered in Post-it notes. And we're constantly changing those puzzle pieces around and going, oh, put this here, this might work better, and we put this here. Yeah.
Well, so that's the conceptual side. What is the actual pragmatic side? What does that look like? You're rehearsing in tents in New Jersey, and you have all these different performers, and so what does it look like on a day-to-day?
It's a little bit like a traveling fair, although we are situated in one place, it's a temporary little village that we've put together. And so we have 2 big top tents that we work out of. We have other buildings on the fairgrounds where we are, the Sussex County Fairgrounds in New Jersey. And with those various spaces, we have constantly things happening simultaneously. So an act might be practicing and warming up, while another one is learning what their music is going to be like, while another one is putting on their costume for the first time. So it is a constant level of activity at all times. And I generally start at dawn to prepare for the day, and I'm working till well past midnight every single day during that process. It is a marathon.
intense is what that sounds like. Well, I'm so excited to see this year's show. I've heard fabulous things about it, and I'm so glad that you kind of have a chance to let it go a bit and maybe take a breath after all of this thing. So congratulations.
Thank you. I'm very proud of this year's show. The acts are stellar. This story that we put in it is very simple, but I think it's effective. I think it's a great show.
Yeah. It's so sweet. Oh, one more thing I wanted to... I heard that this year's Ringmaster is a woman. Yes. Do you want to tell me a little about how that maybe changes the dynamic, and how's that been? It's
the first time that I've had a female Ringmaster here at Big Apple Circus. They have had females before in that role, but our particular Ringmaster this year, Stephanie Mansa, she's amazing. She's a pro. Those of you who know the Bindlestiff Family Circus, you know her incredibly well. She's a perfect match, I think, for Big Apple Circus, and the dynamic is a little different. We talked about things that you wouldn't immediately imagine, but just, for example, her vocal range is different than a male Ringmaster, and so how the microphone has to work and how we amplify her voice is a little bit different. Even just on those practical levels, we had to just adjust a bit and go, oh, okay, it works this way. The presence that she brings is so warm and so friendly, and I keep calling her kind of the big sister to the two clowns in the show, and it's a great dynamic between the three of them, which I don't think would be the same if it was a male Ringmaster. I think it works very, very well, and what's really great is the three of them are great friends. And it's the first time in a long time we've had the Ringmaster and the clowns have a pre-existing relationship, and I think that relationship really spills over into the show in a beautiful way.
Yeah. That sounds great. Well, come down to Lincoln Center, do the time-honored tradition of witnessing the Big Apple Circus here in New York City, and congratulations.
Thank you.